seems crazy, but I'm actually buying properties that most people run away from. Section 8 houses. And from doing this, I've built a passive income portfolio that generates $30,000 a month in government guaranteed rents. The problem is that most real estate investors avoid Section 8 like the plague because of all of the horror stories and false misconceptions they've heard. But I've discovered a step-by-step system that turns these unwanted properties into cash flowing rentals with virtually zero headaches. Which is why in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the system in depth so you can use the Section 8 system right away, all to build a passive income portfolio. And it's because I'm on a mission to help 1,000 people achieve financial freedom through real estate. And 99% of investors are completely overlooking one of the most profitable niches in today's market. While everybody's fighting over these overpriced properties in these A-tier neighborhoods, there's an entire segment of houses that are basically begging to be purchased. But before I reveal the opportunity here, you need to understand why most investors are struggling right now. The problem is that the real estate market has become extremely competitive recently. I mean, interest rates have doubled, and guess what? Home prices are still going up. So finding properties that really cash flow positively is next to impossible. I was in this exact position in 2021 during the COVID bubble, where every house was getting 15 bids. I had saved up $35,000 for my first investment property, but everything I looked at either needed major renovations or it just didn't cash flow and I would lose money every single month. I remember running the numbers on a duplex that I thought was promising, but after accounting for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, I was actually losing $300 a month if I had bought it. And that was for a duplex, not even a single family. That's not investing, that's paying to be a landlord. This is the reality of most investors today. They're either sitting on the sidelines waiting for either home prices to fall or interest rates to fall, buying properties that are barely breaking even, just hoping for appreciation, or taking on massive renovation projects that often blow way past their budget. But there is a fourth option that nobody really is talking about. What if I told you there was a way to buy these properties, they would be turnkey, and they'd cash flow from day one, where the government guarantees a significant portion of your paycheck, usually 70 to 100% of it. This isn't some like get rich quick scheme. I know it kind of sounds like it. And this also isn't some creative financing trick that only works for 0.001% of the population. This is a legitimate program that's been around since 1974, but most investors are either too scared or just misinformed to take advantage of it. I'm talking about Section 8, specifically the Housing Choice Voucher Program, not the projects. And here's how it works. The government directly pays you, the landlord, 70 to 100% of the rent every single month, and the tenant picks up the remainder. And again, the best part is the government portion is guaranteed as long as you're passing the yearly inspections. Even if the tenant can't pay their small portion, you still receive the majority of the rent every single time, same day, same time, every month, guaranteed. The current government shutdown is a fantastic example, where housing authorities are still funded all the way through mid-November. So Section 8 landlords are still being paid. A student of mine bought a 3-bedroom house in Cleveland for $115,000. The Section 8 approved rent was $1,600 a month. The housing authority pays $1,400 of that directly to my student, and then the tenant just picks up the remaining $200. The total monthly expenses, including the mortgage, taxes, insurance, 15% set aside for maintenance, that equals about $850 a month. Meaning my student is cash flowing $700 a month net with virtually no risk of any missed rent payments. But wait, if Section 8 is so great, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, it's probably because you've heard horror stories of Section 8 tenants destroying a property, leaving $30,000 in damages, endless inspections, tons of paperwork. And I'll be honest, some of those concerns are valid, but only if you just don't know what you're doing. I have developed a system that eliminates almost all of these problems, allowing me to build a portfolio of headache-free Section 8 properties that pay on time every single month. And if you want to see some live deal analysis and have me personally tell you if a deal is good or not, I have a free school community with over 1,200 investors already inside. And I run a free masterclass every single week. Click the first link in the description to join, where you can learn, ask questions, and connect with people doing the exact same thing. All right, let's get back into it. The key to successful Section 8 investing is what I call the 4-4 rule. 4 critical criteria for buying properties effectively, and 4 critical criteria for managing properties correctly. So let's start with the 4 buying ones. So the first one's going to be location matters a lot. I only buy in C-class areas. I don't go to D-tier areas. I think those are going to be too hard to rent out. But C-class is the sweet spot where you're just going to have working families that stick to their own business. Next is property condition. Obviously, we're not buying anything that is about to fall apart due to the foundation. We usually buy homes that just need minor repairs unless we're doing a full burr, We make sure that the rent to price ratio is at least 1.3%, meaning if we're buying a home that is $100,000, it has to rent for at least $1,300. And we make sure that the housing authority doesn't suck. I research their reputation, their payment reliability, and inspection criteria before investing in a new area. Following these 4 criteria has helped me save 90% of all of the problems that new investors face going into Section 8. But like I mentioned earlier, buying the property is only half the battle. A lot of the magic is actually in how you manage these properties moving forward. Most investors who try Section 8 without knowing what it is make critical mistakes in this management process that turn a nice cash flowing 15% ROI rental into a nightmare. Here are 4 essential steps to manage your Section 8 property effectively. First is tenant screening. Don't skimp out on this. We'll advertise to both regular tenants and Section 8 tenants. And in both scenarios, we run a lot of the same processes. We check their credit, we check their eviction history, we check their criminal background, we check their payment history with their current landlord. We're pretty diligent in this because once we find one good tenant, they often stay for at least 6 years. Next is a pre-inspection preparation. Before the actual housing authority inspection, I have a handyman or my property manager go out and cross-check everything that is on the HUD checklist that I personally have that's 4 pages long. Links in the description for that. Well, we cross-check it with what is found at the property to make sure that we're not going to fail this inspection. Next is a documentation system. So I keep meticulous records of all communications with any type of, really anyone involved. I very rarely take phone calls because obviously then I don't have proof of something. So that includes, regular communications, inspections, maintenance requests. We all do it through various property management software like Tenant Cloud. And then don't forget about annual rent increases. Every single year, you can ask for an annual rent increase with the housing authority, as long as you have comps local in the area to back up your request. Let me show you how one of these systems worked on one of my students. So I mentioned Marcus earlier, but he bought a 4-bedroom house in Cleveland for $110,000. Needed about $7,000 in repairs to get it up to Section 8 standards. The approved rent was for $1,600 a month, a normal deal, solid ROI. Marcus and I had found a tenant that was leaving their current residence, was already on Section 8, and had been in her previous home for 5 years. The housing authority pays $1,450 and the tenant pays $150. After all expenses, he's cash flowing about $650 a month. And since then, the property has appreciated to $135,000. But best of all, it provides consistent income with minimal headache. Now you might be thinking, oh, this sounds great, but how do I even find these Section 8 properties in the first place? They must be so hard to come by if they're such good investments. That's what I thought starting out too, but I ended up finding some reliable methods in order to find these properties very effectively. Here are my top 2 strategies for finding Section 8 properties. Number 1. Current Section 8 landlords. A lot of landlords end up aging out of the business or just dealing with burnout because they're not up to date with the latest trends, technology, or housing authorities. So my property managers that I'm in contact with will have these landlords come to them and will usually just do a private deal between the landlord and myself with the property manager as a facilitator. This way, there's not that many fees involved. The landlord gets to get out of their property and I get a nice tenant usually and a general good investment that I know I can handle well. The second way is real estate agents, specifically agents who both work with Section 8 tenants and understand investment properties. I work with these agents who can easily tell which houses would work well with the housing program. So they often bring me deals before they even hit the market or just solid MLS deals. The key is to position yourself as a problem solver. A lot of Section 8 landlords are frustrated because they don't have the right systems in place. When you can offer them an exit strategy, they're often willing to sell with favorable terms. The biggest mistake that investors can make is judging the entire Section 8 program based on one bad experience or someone else's horror story. That's like avoiding the stock market because your buddy lost money on a singular stock. With the right system, Section 8 properties can become one of the most consistent and profitable investments in your entire portfolio. But all of this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to building a profitable portfolio with Section 8 rentals, which is why I made a whole nother video breaking down my own portfolio and how I do things in order to put down the least amount of cash possible and scale as fast as possible. So watch this video on screen where I go exactly over what it is and how you can implement it today in your portfolio to build passive income. As always, I'm Joseph Khateri. Have a nice day.